this was a few tips for you people to on writing letter, how to write letter. Figures of speech. In English literature, figures of speech are very important. Especially in poetry, you find figures of speech. I hope you have read this in 8th, 9th and 10th class. Let us recapitulate what are figures of speech. What is the meaning of figures of speech? A figure of speech is a deviation from the ordinary use of words in order to increase the effectiveness. Basically, figure of speech or figurative language may consist of single word or phrase. It can be a simile, a metaphor, a personification to convey the meaning other than the literal meaning. Now, when we speak directly, we give whatever we are speaking, it has literal meaning. But unlike literal meaning, in figure of speech, the words are completely differently used. The meaning is completely different there. There is difference between literal meaning and figurative language. Let us understand what is a literal language. Literal language or literal words are actually what you find in the dictionary. If you want a word, if you know a word or if you want to know the meaning, you will refer a dictionary and you will see the meaning. The word actual meaning is given in the dictionary. So, that actual word is called as literal word. There is no exaggeration in that. Every day we talk to our friends or relatives, etc. We literally talk, whatever is there, we'll speak as it is. That is literal language. We don't exaggerate using figurative languages when we normally talk or generally talk. Conforming to the most obvious meaning, whatever we are speaking, the meaning is there in that words. Those are called as literal language. Now, for example, to make you understand better, let us take an example. The weather is beautiful today. If I say the weather is beautiful today, I literally mean today's weather is very beautiful. It's good. It's not very hot. It's not very cold. It's pleasant. It's beautiful. So, I am meaning what I am saying, a literal meaning. Let us take one more example. The Great Battle of Plassey was fought in 1757. What is there? I am telling the same thing. When was the Battle of Plassey held? It was fought in the year 1757. So, it is literally the meaning the same. When I am saying the Battle of Plassey was fought in the year 1757, it means that that battle happened in that particular year. It is the exact meaning. So, such words are called as literal meanings or literal language. Moving on to figurative language or figures of speech. What is a figurative language? Language that goes beyond the normal meaning of word used. When we are using the words, the meaning is completely different from what we are using. You have to go beyond or you have to take a deeper meaning of it based on or make use of figures of speech when you are talking to someone metaphorically, making use of figures or symbols. That is called as figurative language. Let us understand this with an example. Fragrance always remains in the hands that always give. Now, in this, if I say fragrance, fragrance means good smell, always remain in the hands that always give. Does it mean that our hands always smell good? Every day we give many things to each other, take things and give. So, does our hand smells good? No, it does not mean as whatever it is as literally as what I am saying. My hands are not smelling good. It is not the literal language. I am using a figurative language. Here, fragrance always remains in the hands that always gives meaning. When you do something good act, when you are giving charity or when you are helping your friends. So, always that graciousness or that goodness will stay lifelong. You will be known as a very good person, a helping friend, a charitable person, a good human being. So, the figurative meaning behind, the deeper meaning behind this sentence is you have to understand the hidden meaning of that figurative language. Fragrance always remains in the hands that always give. It means the person is a very good person. he is a gracious one, he is always helping other persons, he is not selfish. So these are the hidden meanings in that sentence. You have to understand in figurative way. Now, what are different types of figures of speech? Some of the commonly used or figures of speech which you have read in your textbooks during 8th, 9th, 10th classes. The first one is simile. This is the most common figure of speech which is used in prose or poetry. In similes, two unlike things are explicitly compared. We are comparing two things which are completely different, but there is a comparison. For example, if I say she is a fairy, she is like a fairy. She is like a fairy. The girl is compared to a fairy. A girl is one person here, one thing, okay, and fairy is another thing. So both unlike things are compared here. That means that girl is as beautiful as a fairy. So here we are comparing two things or two people with each other. Unlike things are compared. Always remember, in similes, when we are comparing, we use like or as beautiful as soft as good as beautiful as cold as cool as black as dark as. So all these things are used in similes. You use as, you use like, or you use so. So if you see in a sentence like or as or so pretty, then you can use you can understand that comparison or the figure of speech here is a simile. Moving to the next, metaphor. This is an informal or implied simile in which words like or so are omitted. Most of the students get confused here between simile and metaphor. In simile we use like, as or so, but in metaphor here we don't use these words like, so. Here these words are omitted, but there is a implied simile. It directly compares seemingly unrelated subjects. If I say a good laugh is sunshine in a house. Now here there are two things compared. Laugh is compared to sunshine. That means when sun rays falls in a house, the house brightens, the rooms get brightened up. It gives shine everywhere. So if you are a good person, when you laugh, when you start a day, your house gets brightened up, your mood or everyone around you will get brightened up. Their mood also will become happy. So a good laugh is sunshine in a house. This is a figure of speech. This is a metaphor. Here laugh is compared to sunshine. Sunshine is different, laugh is different. But here two unrelated things, two different things are compared using a metaphor or using a figure of speech. Laugh is compared to sunshine. Sunshine makes the day bright. It starts the day, okay. In the morning, everything, when the sun shines, everything becomes bright. Everyone starts doing their work. So to brighten up your mood, if a good laugh, if you laugh heartily or somebody laughs, your mood, if you are in a sad mood, you also get rejuvenated and it will brighten up your mood. So sunshine is compared to laugh, or laugh is compared to sunshine here. If we take the figurative meaning, sunshine brings joy and happiness wherever it strikes. Laughter also does the same thing. If a person who is very humorous, who always laughs, if he or she is going to any place, that person brightens up the atmosphere of that place. Everyone will be happy being around him. So here that person will bring joy and happiness in the family or in the house. Now let us look at this example. He is like a lion. Here in this example, like is used. So whenever like, as or so is used, that sentences or that kind of language is called as simile. So here he is like a lion is a simile. He is a lion is a metaphor. There is a difference. In both the sentence, a person is compared to lion. Okay, in simile we are saying that he is like a lion. He resembles like a lion. He fights like a lion. But in a metaphor we are omitting like and we are saying he is a lion. He is a lion means he is always brave. He can do anything daringly without any fear. He can go and do any work like a lion. So this is the difference between simile and metaphor. Now let us look at few more examples of metaphor. She is a star of our family. Here we are using a star word to represent the girl or a person in the family. We are saying that she is a star of a family. Stars twinkle or they shine. So a girl, a small girl in a house, she is the star of the family. Always she is very active, very jovial, very lively, making the house bright, laughing, playing, cracking jokes. So she is the star of a family means she is sort of the person everyone loves her, everyone likes her. So star here is the metaphor. Now if I say the childhood of the world, can the world have childhood? We are comparing the world as a person here and we are saying that the world has childhood. So here there is a hidden meaning in this in figure of speech. We have to understand that the childhood of the world here is the early stages of the world. Next, the anger of the tempest. Tempest means storm. So when it is very high, very strong, we call it as anger. When a storm or cyclone has destroyed villages or buildings or uprooted many trees, we are saying that it is an anger of that storm. Does the storm has anger? Does it has feeling? No, it is not a human being, but we are using these feelings to refer to a storm. So here this is a figurative language. We are comparing the storm with feelings. That is a metaphor here. She is now in the sunset of her days. In this example, we are saying that she is, a person is compared to sunset. Now what is the meaning of sunset? Sunset means end of the day. So here also in this sentence, she is now in the sunset of her days means she is in the end of her problems or in end of the journey, whatever she is getting old in her life, she is becoming old and she is at the end of her life stages, or she is in the sunset means whatever problem she is facing, those problems are going to end as the day ends at sunset. So here also that person is in the sunset. That means the hidden meaning here is, deeper meaning here is, we should understand that that person is in the sunset, end of her days. She is going to die very soon. So you have to understand in the context. Next, personification. What is personification? Personification is a figure of speech where human qualities, a personal nature like intelligence, character is attributed to inanimate objects or abstract qualities. We are comparing a human being with an non-living thing or an abstract thing or inanimate things. For example, a tree bowed and waved to me in the wind. Now, in this sentence, the tree is imagined as a person. Okay, how a person can bow and wave their hands like that. The person here, the tree is saying that the tree is bowing and waving me in the wind. Can a tree really bow and bend and wave? No, it cannot do, but it is assumed, it is imagined as the characters, it is imagined as human being, and here the poet is showing or the writer is showing that in front of me there is a tree, it is bowing to me and it is waving to me. I am standing in front of the tree and the tree is bowing to me, it is waving to me. So here the tree is given a human characteristic. Such kind of comparison is called as personification. One more example let us take. The dish ran away with the spoon. Can dish run away with the spoon? No, it is not possible. But here the dish and the spoon are given, these are inanimate things, non-living things, but they are given life. They are considered as human beings, characters, and the writer is saying that the dish ran away with the spoon. Can they run really? No, but we are imagining that they are characters. Dish is one character or spoon is one character, and they have run away with each other. So, here the dish ran away with the spoon is a personification. In this sentence, the dish ran away with the spoon, we can imagine a boy and a girl running together, running away. So, dish ran away with the spoon. Here the hidden or the other figurative meaning in this sentence is a boy and a girl ran away. Tree is compared to a person. Next figure of speech is hyperbole. Now, what is a hyperbole? Hyperbole is nothing but it's an exaggeration or overstatement in the real sense to illustrate a point. Now, if I say, I am so hungry I could eat a horse. What am I saying? I am so hungry I could eat a horse. Can I eat a horse? A horse consists of 400 pounds. Can any person eat that? But what I am doing, I am over exaggerating the situation. I am stating it. I am saying more about it. I am showing my hunger, that it is so much that I am so hungry that I can eat a horse of 400 pounds. So, here I am so hungry I could eat a horse is a hyperbole. You are over exaggerating the situation. You are overstating. You are using more words to show your hunger. Okay. Next figure of speech is metonymy. Metonymy is meant for a change of name. It is a substitute of the thing names for the things meant. In the figure of speech, a whole represents a part and a part represents a whole. Let me explain you with an example. I pledge my service to the crown. In this example or in this sentence, a soldier is saying that I pledge my services to the crown. Now, here crown, what is this crown? Who will wear a crown? A king will wear a crown. So, soldiers or his people, they have to listen to the king, they have to follow the king. So, here the whole, king is the whole, it is represented in the form of a part, crown. The crown is a small part. So, instead of saying king, the crown is representing the king here. I pledge my services to the crown means I am ready to serve for the king. I am ready to do anything for my kingdom. A soldier is saying that I am ready to serve for my king. I am ready to die for my kingdom. So, here the whole is king or kingdom, but the part is crown. Is that clear? Let us take one more example. The pen is mightier than a sword. I hope you have read this proverb many a times. The pen is mightier than a sword. So, what are we doing here? We are changing the names. We are substituting the things. Okay? A sword is sharp. It can kill anybody. But sharper than the sword is a pen. With your words, you can kill the person without using a sword also. So, here in this figure of speech, metonymy, you are changing the name of any this one, you are substituting the whole into a part. From the cradle to grave. I hope you have read this kind of phrase, this phrase in your books or in the stories, from cradle to grave. What is the meaning of this cradle to grave? Cradle means it's a small bed where babies sleep. It's like a swing. Okay. So, when babies are born, they are put in a cradle, and afterwards when a person in an old age, when the person dies, he is put into the grave. Cradle to grave means from childhood to death. The deeper meaning here is the figurative language, we say from cradle to grave. Cradle to grave means from childhood to death. I have never read Milton. If we take the example of this sentence, I have never read Milton. Milton is a famous writer. In that, we are saying that can we read any person? No, we cannot read any person, but here you are saying that I have not read the works of Milton. I have never read Milton means you are not reading the person. You are saying you want to say that I did not read the works written by Milton, whatever plays, stories he has written or poems he has written, I have not read. So, the other meaning, you are substituting the word for the plays or stories, you are using other word, you are saying that I have never read Milton, but actually you are saying, you mean to say that you have not read the works or written things, whatever he has written, you have not read his work. Moving on to next figure of speech, irony or sarcasm. In this figure of speech, the real meaning of the words are different from the intended meaning. You will say something, but the meaning is different. Something you are saying orally to listen, the meaning is different, but when you are saying, intending to say something, the meaning inside is different. Let me explain you with the help of an example. The child of cobbler has no shoe. Now, you know who is a cobbler. Cobbler means a person who mends or makes shoes. A cobbler will make many shoes. Here the cobbler's child is not having shoes, he was saying. Does a cobbler's child has no shoe? He can, or the father can make a new shoe and give it to his children. But here in this sentence, the child of a cobbler has no shoe, means that the cobbler is a poor man. He is so poor that he cannot afford to buy a new shoe to his child. So, the meaning is completely different from what it is said. The real meaning is different. But if you see the literal meaning, when you read a child of cobbler has no shoe, you cannot understand just reading literally. You cannot say that the child of the cobbler is not having shoe. That is wrong. The real meaning is the cobbler is a poor man. He is not having any money to buy shoe for his child. Okay. Now, moving on to the next one. His argument was clear as mud. Now, you know what is argument. Argument is when you talk with someone, when you are disagreeing with some person, you will be arguing. There will be argument between two persons. So, you are saying that the argument is clear as mud. If you see mud, mud is sticky, very complicated, disgusting, dirty. So, that person also, when he was arguing, he was using complicated words, he was showing disgusting feelings. So, here argument is compared to mud. This is called as irony. In figurative language, we say sarcasm or irony. You are saying something, but you mean something. Moving on to the next figure of speech, pun. A pun is a play of words in which a humorous effect is produced by using a word that suggests two or more meanings. It can be having two more meanings, two more different understandings. These such words can be like homophones or homonyms. These words are called as homophones or homonyms. Let us understand this figure of speech with an example. What is the difference between a conductor and a teacher? Okay, in a class, somebody is cracking a joke, a boy is saying, what is the difference between a conductor and a teacher? He says that the conductor minds the train and the teacher trains the mind. In this sentence, you can see that minds and mind, train and train, both are same spellings. Meaning here, meaning is different. Though the pronunciation is same, spelling is same, but here the meaning is different. They are homophones, it sounds same, pronunciation is same, but the meaning is different. The conductor minds the train. Here minds means train, controlling the train. The teacher trains the mind. That means she is able to control the mind. She can train the mind. So, the word train is used, one is noun, one is used as noun. Train is the thing which moves on tracks, you find at the railway station. The teacher trains the mind is, train is controlling the mind, training, giving training. Okay. So, here trains is using it is used as a verb. Is this clear? Both are homonyms here, train and mind. Same spelling, same sound, same but meaning is different. So these are called as homonyms. Is life worth living? If I say, is life worth living? This is a pun. In figure of speech, it is a fun. It is called as pun. If I ask someone, is life worth living? It depends on the person. The answer may vary from person to person. A person who is very rich may say, yes, life is worth living. He has lot of money, he can travel to any place in the world, he can enjoy all his riches and he'll enjoy the life. But if I ask the same question to a person who is very poor, who is not having money, any luxuries, if we ask that person, is life worth living? He'll say, no, I don't have money to take care of my family, I cannot earn enough sufficient money, so it's better to die instead of living this kind of life, begging, etc. It's better to die. So it depends on the liver, it depends on the person whom you are asking this question. Next figure of speech, it is alliteration. Alliteration is nothing but repetition of the same letter or syllable at the beginning of the two or more words. For example, let us take this example to understand better. By apt alliterations artful. In this line, if you see, a sound is repeated thrice. There are three words starting with letter A or a sound. By apt alliterations artful. Here a sound is repeated thrice. Apt, alliteration, artful. Same letters or same syllables are repeated one after each other or after gap of one or two words. If you look in the second example, glittering through the gloomy. In this line, you can find g sound. Words starting with G or g sound are used twice. In one line only, two syllables or letters are used twice. Okay, glittering, gloomy. So this refers to alliteration. The furrows follows. The furrow follows. You can see the use of first sound repeated twice, one after the above, just immediately after the word furrow you can find another word starting with first sound, follows. So such kind of representation is called as alliteration. You find repetition of syllables or letters in the same line. It can be immediately or it can be after 2-3 words. Moving on to the next, apostrophe. What is an apostrophe? It is nothing but direct address to some inanimate thing or to some abstract ideas as if it were a living person or some abstract person as if they were present. Now if I say a sentence, boy's mother loved him very much. Now if you read thoroughly and understand properly, here boy's mother loved him very much. That means the mother is no more. When she was alive, she loved the boy very much. So here the person, abstract thing, the mother is no more, she is not living, she is dead, she is gone from this world, but she loved that boy very much. So we are comparing that love, we are showing as if mother is present now and we are using apostrophe after boy. We are writing an apostrophe and we are adding S, apostrophe S. Boy's mother loved him very much. So such kind of usage is called as apostrophe. The next one is litotes. It is the opposite of hyperbole. Remember, we have read hyperbole. Hyperbole is exaggeration, overstatement. Here an affirmative sentence is conveyed by negation. Negation is using no or not. In a sentence, if there is no or not, it is called as negation. Now if I say he is no dullard, in this sentence I am not saying that the boy is a dullard. I am using no, a negation, to show that the boy is no dullard. That means he is not a dullard, he is a intelligent boy, he is a clever boy, he is not a dull boy. So we are using negative affirmations here, negations we are using. I am not a little. A boy is saying I am not a little. He is not given any task, any work to do. So seeing that, the boy is asking his mother, saying his mother, I am not a little. That means I am not a small boy now. I am grown up. I am not small. I can do my things on my own. I can become independent. I am not a small boy to be dependent. He is not a bad sort. Again we are using not. You have to take the opposite meaning. You cannot take this one. You are saying that the boy, he is not a bad sort, means he is not, you are not saying that the boy is bad. You are saying that the boy is not bad, he is a good person. So not is used in litotes. Interrogation. This is a rhetorical mode of affirming or denying something more strongly than could be done in ordinary language. For example, who is here so base that would be a born man? Here we are using questions. Remember, in English language, interrogative questions we say. Interrogate means to ask questions. So in some stories, in passages, or in poetry, the writer, the poet uses questions. Who is here so base that would be a born man? Who is here so rude that would not be a Roman? So here in the sentences, in the poetry, you are asking questions. You are using questions in the form of a sentence. That is called as interrogation. Now, after recapitulating, let us see how much you have understood. Let us take few sample questions to understand much better. As straight as an arrow. As straight as an arrow is an example of what? A. Metaphor, B. Simile, C. Onomatopoeia, D. Hyperbole. What is this? Remember, in the beginning I have explained you, wherever as is used, as dash as is a simile. We use two things to compare, two unlike things to compare with one another. So here we are saying the person is as straight as an arrow. How the arrows go straight, like that the person also will talk straightforward. He is a straightforward person. So as straight as is a simile here. The correct option is B, simile. Question number 2. Lucky lady is an example of what? Lucky lady. Just now we have read same sounds. If you see in this phrase, L sound is repeated. L, L, lucky. The word lucky is starting with L and the sound is L. The next word lady is starting with L sound or L letter. So wherever this repetition is used, it is called as alliteration. So metaphor is wrong, oxymoron is wrong, onomatopoeia is wrong. The correct answer is alliteration. Next question. Boom. Boom is an example of what? Is it oxymoron? Is it simile? Is it personification? Or is it onomatopoeia? In onomatopoeia, you will have sounds. Boom. There was a blast. Boom. So such words which represent sounds are called as onomatopoeia. The city was a jungle is an example of what? Now here, to understand, go back. I have explained you two unlike things are compared. Here city is compared to jungle, but there is no use of words like as, so or like. So where there is comparison, it is a metaphor. Without as, like or so, it is a metaphor. So the correct option is A, metaphor. It took a million years for Thomas to finish his homework is an example of what? Simile, onomatopoeia, hyperbole or personification. If you look at the sentence, it took million years for Thomas to finish his homework. Here to complete his homework. Here we are exaggerating, he took lot of time. So here we are over exaggerating the situation and saying that it took million years. So here the situation is exaggerated. He took lot of time. He took 2-3 hours or 2-3 days to complete the work. But we are exaggerating, overstating and saying that it took millions of years. So wherever such kind of over exaggeration is there, it is called as hyperbole. So hyperbole is the correct answer. I hope this you have understood this. Next, thundering silence is an example of what? Thundering silence. Here the word thundering silence means complete silence. Is it onomatopoeia, hyperbole, personification or oxymoron? It is oxymoron. The correct option is oxymoron. Here silence is compared to thunder. Okay, thundering silence. Hope this video was useful to you. You have revised the figures of speech, and if any question comes in your entrance exam, you can easily answer it with the help of this video. Thank you very much.